And Becca, can you come up and share your story? They're a little nervous, so...
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I'm going to do my best without a podium here to read this because I don't have it memorized. My name is Becca Hunwardesn. I'm 27 years old and I had breast cancer. Sorry. When I began to write this speech about 2 months ago, I actually said I have breast cancer, but luckily I've been able to modify it to say that I had breast cancer. I was diagnosed on March 8th of this year when I was still 26. I hope that by sharing my story, I can not only inspire others, but I can provide education that you're never too young for cancer to hit. Cancer doesn't discriminate. There are many myths about cancer, but let me tell you, you're not too young, you're not too healthy, cancer can hurt, and just because you don't have the gene doesn't mean you won't get it. I also hope by speaking here today to provide encouragement to those who've been down this road, currently going down this road, or will go down this road. Though cancer is scary and unknown, you can still live your life, and you can still have happiness, and you can fight and win. My journey started in late November 2012 when I felt a lump in my right breast. I put off getting it checked, partly out of fear. However, I did follow up a few weeks later. After an ultrasound, I was told I had a simple cyst and that it would likely go away on its own. However, after a matter of 2 months, the lump grew. It was hard and was easily felt. I went for a follow-up ultrasound in February, where on the ultrasound it still appeared to be a cyst. However, since it had grown, they sent me to get aspirated. On March 7th, in an attempt to aspirate it, it was discovered that it was solid and not fluid-filled. I, of course, was worried, but because I'm so young, I felt reassured that there was a small chance that it was cancer. The next day at work, I was in my office when I got a call from the doctor for the results. I was nervous initially, but when he called, he sounded calm, and he asked how I was doing after the biopsy. So I felt prepared for good news. However, that wasn't the case. The next thing the doctor said was, "You do have a cancer there." My heart sank, I got hot, my head got foggy, and the room was spinning. I went into what I guess you would describe as survival mode after that, asking questions, getting a plan. I didn't even cry at first. I remember asking my doctor about radiation or chemotherapy, and he told me I would need chemotherapy and that they would fix me right up. While I was on the phone, I left work and was driving to my parents' home. I called my boyfriend and started crying on the phone and told him that he needed to come home. He asked if the doctor called. I told him yes, that it wasn't good. I ran into my... Sorry, I knew I'd cry up here. I ran into my parents' house calling for my mom. She was still in bed and jumped out of bed. And I ran in there crying. She knew what I was about to say, and I told her I have cancer. She broke down, saying no, 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 and we just hugged for a few minutes crying. This is a moment in the experience that I feel is more like a nightmare that I'll never forget, telling my mom that I have cancer. Seeing her face and knowing how scared she was for me. We called my sister next, whose reaction over the phone was just as heart-wrenching as my mom's. To shed some light here, my sister lives on the East Coast, and she and I have become very close, so having to tell her this and being so far was very hard. We informed my family and close friends over the next few days. At the start of my diagnosis, I had a hard time eating. I was very sad and very scared. But as a word of advice, during this time, don't Google. And I'll tell you that you have every kind of cancer in the book and that you're not going to make it. It was really scary. The next 2 weeks, things moved quickly. I met with my oncologist, Dr. Hager in Fresno. I got my official diagnosis. Triple negative breast cancer, stage 2, grade 3, which is the most aggressive grade, meaning it's growing fast. Over the next 2 weeks, I had a lymph node core biopsy, which thankfully came back clear of cancer, an echocardiogram of my heart, my chemo port put in, blood tests, and a PET scan, which also thankfully came back showing no signs of cancer anywhere else in my body. On March 21st, I had my first chemotherapy session. I was planning to have 6 treatments every 21 days of 3 very potent chemo drugs that have been shown to help treat triple negative breast cancer, which can be a difficult kind to treat due to the fact that it's growing without any hormones. I was very scared for my first chemo, not knowing what to expect, what side effects I would experience. Overall, I was very blessed to have a tolerable time with chemo. I underwent 4 months of treatments, with my last on July 8th. I, of course, lost my hair, I got tired, I gained weight, I experienced changes in memory, or what you'll hear as chemo brain. I was fortunate enough to not experience any nausea, sickness, extreme fatigue, and only had other very mild side effects. I was able to work through a majority of my treatments, only taking time off for a few days after each treatment. My doctor was pleasantly surprised at how well I tolerated chemo, with all my blood tests coming back normal, never contracting any illnesses during chemo, and my energy level being what it was. Other than my hair loss, most people I know wouldn't know that I'm going through chemo. And again, most people probably never knew I had cancer, because most of the time I was wearing a wig, like today. The doctor would always say that young age really was on my side. Though chemo isn't fun at all, no matter how few side effects you experience, I'm thankful for it because it saved my life. After just 2 treatments, my tumor was shrinking rapidly, and after all my 6 treatments, only a small amount was left. I was determined to enjoy my time after chemo, as I had over a 5-week break before I had a scheduled surgery. I made the choice to undergo a double mastectomy on August 15th with immediate reconstruction. I had what's called expanders put in to get filled over time to reconstruct my breasts. I would love to tell you that it wasn't an easy decision, but to be honest, it was. I knew that if I made the choice to have a lesser invasive surgery, I would worry for the remainder of my life and constantly look over my shoulder. I didn't want that. It was easy for me to decide to take them both and get reconstruction. But at 27 years old, it's difficult to cope with knowing that your body will never be the same, that you will be scarred, and that you'll have to put your body through all of this to be better and be okay. But I'm glad I made this choice, as it gets me as close to a 0% chance of breast cancer reoccurrence. I had wonderful surgeons, and so far I'm happy with my physical results. And my scars will always remind me of the trials I went through, and that I survived and was stronger of that which could have taken my life. My surgery occurred just 1 month ago today, and I actually feel really good. I'm back at work, getting range of motion and able to enjoy many of my normal day-to-day activities. For my surgery, what was planned to be a 1 to 2 day stay in the hospital ended up being a 5-day stay, as I had to have a second surgery due to a large hematoma that developed. I developed a high heart rate and ended up on the cardiac floor to be monitored, and I got a blood transfusion due to low hemoglobin. It sounds all worse than it is, though. The hospital stay wasn't too bad, and to be honest, pain-wise, I really expected a lot worse. The surgery and recovery wasn't bad for me at all. I took about 3 weeks off of work to heal, and I was itching to get back at work. Even though I got to lounge around, watch TV, and be taken care of all of the time. It's hard to do when I'm usually a do-it-yourselfer. The outcome of the surgery was both positive and negative in some ways. The surgeons did get clear margins around my tumor, meaning they removed the leftover small tumor, and all the tissue removed it was cancer-free, so no cancer was left from the original tumor. The surgeon also checked my lymph nodes, removing 3. My sentinel node did end up having microscopic cancer cells, but the next 2 were clear. That was a surprise to us, as all through my treatment we believed my lymph nodes were clear. We were hoping for clear lymph nodes, as that's typically how cancer starts to spread, is through the lymph system, but having only 1 be positive on a microscopic level and the next 2 not was some good news. And the doctors do believe that as of right now I am cancer-free. My next step, I will be having radiation due to having the positive lymph node to ensure any potential leftover cancerous cells are killed and hopefully prevent any further disease. It's been a hard decision to make whether to have radiation or not, as there are many potential risks involved as well, and I do not meet classic criteria to go forward with radiation. I've had 2 consultations and 2 very different opinions of whether I should go forward with radiation. I asked for a sign to help me make my decision, and I recently received it. Having one of those doctors consult with a Stanford radiation oncologist who also recommended radiation.
Yeah.
And another oncologist told me that he also believes I need it. I feel that I have to go with my gut and get it despite the fears.
Oh, Beck.
Cancer has not only affected my life, but has greatly impacted my family, my boyfriend, and my close friends. Cancer made its way into our family long before I was diagnosed. My grandmother, my father's mother, is a breast cancer survivor of 13 years. My mother is also a triple-negative breast cancer survivor of 4 years. With that being said, ironically, we don't have the breast cancer gene. Also, my father is an almost 3-year survivor of prostate cancer. Seeing family members go through cancer is one experience, both scary but motivating to see them beat it, and know that I come from a family of survivors.